from Las Vegas. This is Formula One. 3 drivers still dream of claiming the World Championship. And we're underway. Lando Norris is going to need the job, but it's super aggressive. He went bold, but Verstappen got by. Oh my word. Clobbers into the side of the Aston Martin. That's how Hamilton charged up 7 places. George Russell climbing up to 2nd position.
Piastri runs wide.
That Ferrari is rapid. Can Leclerc roar by? He can.
Some people are gonna move.
Russell is struggling. Norris is charged up. Norris straight by, up to 2nd position.
I'm struggling on brakes.
Contact between Alex Albon and Lewis Hamilton.
What is going on with Norris?
Norris has been asked to lift and coast all the way to the flag. Max Verstappen wins.
Lovely that.
Still a contender for the title. You cannot count him out.
No, you can't. So Lando Norris on 390 points. Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri tied on 366, with Piastri just ahead on countback. Now, we are in front of the McLaren garages and we've managed to grab hold of Andrea Stella for a chat. Andrea, sorry to see what happened last weekend with the double disqualification and the drama that ensued after the checkered flag. Talk us through what was happening during that race and in the immediate aftermath that has led to this disqualification with the excessive wear on those skid planks.
Yeah, what we experienced during the race is a phenomenon called porpoising. So you have an aerodynamic instability which causes the car to start bouncing vertically, and this phenomenon we kind of didn't see it in practice. So it was a bit of a surprise, and when you are in this loop from a car behavior point of view, it then becomes difficult to control the grounding. So we had a bit of an excess of grounding, which led to consumption of one of the skids that are at the rear of the car. This skid needs to be above 9 millimeter in every location, and in one single location we were 8.88 with Lando and 8.76 with Oscar as a consequence of this touching the ground. So the FIA measured this for all the first 10 cars. They found that this measurement was below 9, so we've been reported, and then from there was a discussion at the stewards. And one important point is that when it comes to technical infringements, there's no proportionality. Like we were off by 0.12 millimeters, and yet this leads to a disqualification. So definitely there's a point of discussion as to making sure that when infringements are minor and when infringements are totally unintended and related to something that happens that the team kind of was not in condition to control, ideally you have proportional consequences, repercussions, rather than such a severe kind of consequence.
James, Jolyon, Juan, Pablo, haven't had a chance to say hello to any of you yet, but let's dive straight in with Andrea. Go ahead.
I'll jump in. I mean, we've talked a lot about what happened last week. Everyone knows the story now. For me, though, you guys have had such a strong year, such a competitive season. Constructors' Championship wrapped up early. Best case scenario, this Drivers' Championship is settled in 3 days' time. Worst case scenario, in 10 days' time, you've got 2 of the 3 drivers in the mix to potentially do it. What is the mood like between your drivers right now? They know now that we're a week, maybe less away from this all being decided, this very incredible year being over, one of the 2 of them potentially being the world driving champion. What is the attitude? What's the mood between them right now?
Well, interestingly enough, Lando and Oscar, in one of our conversations, said, like, our relationship has never been that good.
That's a good problem.
I was kind of like, well, very good to hear. You know, for me as a team principal, it's definitely reason of pride of our 2 drivers. It's not easy to find this situation when you have a rivalry, when you are competing for such an important result like the Drivers' Championship. You know, we've always been very clear with the drivers that we go racing in one way. We go racing united, we go racing together, We go racing knowing that we wear the jersey of McLaren. McLaren is bigger than anybody. And if you want to drive for McLaren, you serve the driving for McLaren. That's our ethos, and this ethos is also the ethos that represents the values and the principles of Lando and Oscar themselves. So sometimes for me, I'm just there to make sure that we kind of remain faithful to what we believe in, especially when the action on track or the pressure may see us deviating from there, and just remind everyone that that's what we have always wanted. And so far with Oscar and Lando, this has been relatively easy to achieve.
Andrea, I've got to bring you back to the floor, I'm afraid. We've only got one practice here because it's a sprint. Do you have to go conservative, do you think, with the setup after Vegas, having a double DQ, with everything at stake? Are you going to have to go cautious like you did in Austin with it, or do you think it's a different set of circumstances?
It's a different set of circumstances. Like Vegas, at least in the regime in which we operated the car, associated with the track characteristics, especially the long straight, because we were having a lot of porpoising in the first part of the straight as well. They are special circumstances in terms of operating regime. Here we go back to an area of the operating window that we know better. So we will use more of the consolidated ways of setting up the car, deciding the ride heights. But obviously, we want to make sure that we took all the possible learning from Vegas. So we have checked and reviewed multiple times what we expect here, and we are definitely going to pay, if anything, even more attention to make sure that what we do tomorrow and we see tomorrow in pre-practice 1 is completely relevant for what we will then see in the race, which is what surprised us in Vegas. Like in the race, we saw things that we didn't see in practice. Obviously, it's our responsibility. Like if we know our car, we should know that something happens. So it's not an excuse, but there was a little bit of a surprise. We will work tomorrow to make sure that there's absolutely no surprise.
Great. I got one more question actually. What's happened to Oscar? 7 races without a podium. He was winning all the time. He was fighting for first or second. His form seems to be gone in all conditions.
I think this season is interesting, and perhaps because it's long enough, the season, that we have seen various phases. There was an initial phase in which, if anything, Lando was the one hesitating the most, in exploiting his maximum potential. And part of it, I think, it had to do with the behavior of the car. And we introduced some changes, especially in the area of the front suspension, to connect a bit more Lando with the front tires, and this seemed to have then worked very well. That was the first phase. Then we had a second phase in which both our drivers were doing very well, and if anything, it was Red Bull and Max that hesitated. Max had a couple of difficult races. He had Barcelona, and then we end up in a third phase in which now Red Bull become very competitive. Max is top form, and our two drivers kind of a little surprised by that. We didn't have great races, especially Baku. But after that, I think Max and then Lando have kind of elevated the game, while Oscar faced a few circuits in which the car needed to be driven in a certain way. There were circuits in which you have to slide the rear to get rotation. You have to use the brakes to kind of generate this little amount of rear locking that helps the front. And this is something on which with Oscar we are still working in terms of making it like a natural way of driving. And I think this combined with the fact that Lando and Max in particular, I think elevated the game, looked like in relative, Oscar took a step back. I think this is a combination of technical reasons above all, like initially for Lando, in the first part of the season was mainly technical reasons that put Lando in a little bit of difficulty. And the game now is so competitive that as soon as you lose a little bit of the edge in terms of classification, you may lose 4 or 5 positions.
Andrea, thank you so much for such detailed answers.
No
really
worries,
appreciate your
you're very
time.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck this weekend as well. High stakes indeed for a sprint weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll let you go.
Thanks,
Continue
everyone.
your prep. Juan Pablo, bringing you in here as well. What have you made of McLaren? Firstly, last weekend, the double disqualification, but equally the position their two drivers are in. And would you rather be Lando, or would you rather the hunted, or would you rather be the hunter?
Well, I think McLaren, the problems were very specific for Vegas. As low downforce is just the way you run the car. As you said, is not why you normally run the car with a high downforce package. So I think that was and the bumps being a street course and everything, I think it was very exclusive to Vegas, and I don't think you're going to see it again. I think what the rules are, and it's black and white. I don't think there's Andrea was saying there's a bit of a gray area. In my opinion, it's if you're underweight, you're underweight. If you're over, you're over. You know what I mean? It's what it is. I would rather be Lando. Lando is comfortable. The McLaren's got enough pace for Lando to be in the podium in the next few races. You know what I mean? You have the sprint and two main races, and he can easily do that. I think Max is going to be really aggressive, because the only way to Max to carry on the championship is to be ahead of Lando. And I think that could be the only thing that could, flip this championship upside down, is if they get together. If Max gets together, one of the two McLarens is going to put that championship up in the air.
Oh my goodness, can you even imagine the stories, yet more twists in the tale? Let's hear then from our top three in the championship.
So no, I'm excited for all of it. I don't know, I've never been in this situation before, but I'm excited. I think it's exciting for everyone. I think I certainly would have liked to have the 30-point gap instead of 24 to whoever it is. But it makes it more exciting for you guys, I guess. So good for you. And no, I think I'll just go and try and do the same thing. I'll focus on trying to get good quality and have a good race and just take one step at a time. I don't mind. Of course, the earlier I can do it, the better. But at the same time, that doesn't change how I do anything. I just need to try and win, and simple as that.
I think it can definitely still go my way, but not everything is within my control now. Obviously, I think I need to be there and put myself in the best position that if things happen, that I can capitalize, and that's all I can try and do, really. So just try and have good pace, ultimately try and put myself in a good position and see what unfolds.
It's the same. I feel exactly the same as last week. Yes, it's closer. Ideally, I would have loved to have it a bit closer, but it's still open. And of course, we'll try our best. We'll go all in, and hopefully, we can make it exciting till the end.
Thank you.
That Oscar has in the car.
Right, blimey, Max Verstappen all in with absolutely nothing to lose. They are quite frightening words, aren't they? Jolyon Palmer, who's going to be strongest here this weekend then? Max Verstappen going all in, or McLaren's potentially looking, as you mentioned to Andrea Stella, to set the car up in a way that they won't get disqualified for?
Well, I think he gave a good enough answer that they can get back to their normal performance. And their normal performance will be really close with Max, I think, around here. There's a lot of savagely fast corners around this circuit, which could suit Red Bull from what we've seen so far this year. But then the McLaren's really good around a range of corners. The downforce efficiency, the aero efficiency they need should suit their car down to the ground. And I wouldn't rule out Mercedes. George Russell actually started on pole last year. He was really aggressive in the sprint before that as well. So he could yet be a fly in the ointment. And Oscar has got good form. Andreas mentioned, the driving style that he's not had in the recent races. It included the wet qualifying in Vegas where he wasn't quite on it. But this is a much better circuit for him. It's more conventional. And so it's really difficult to call.
58 points remaining, and you can see there, you could just see a moment ago, how Lando Norris could win it this weekend. We could be well crowning a champion on Sunday. He needs to outscore both rivals by 2 points, or the 1 point if he wins the Grand Prix. James Hinchcliffe, is he going to do it?
It's tough.
I threw you the hardest question there, but sorry.
I think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it this weekend.
Are we in agreement on that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Max is going to be so aggressive, because for Max, he either has a chance of the championship or he doesn't care. So he knows that Lando's in such a comfortable position of the points that the only thing Lando cannot afford is a DNF.
And we talk about this, coming into this weekend about being a McLaren track, especially an Oscar Piastri track. But you got to remember, Max has won it twice. George was on pole last year because Max took a penalty. Max was actually the quickest car in qualifying. This is a Max track too. And the momentum that he's had recently, that pace on the Red Bull in comparison to the McLaren, I do think he's going to be the car and driver to beat this weekend. So I don't think Lando's going to outscore him in Qatar. But I think he'll get it done in Abu Dhabi.
And also, imagine any sort of situation where Max has nothing to lose. That is a disaster for Lando starting on the front row. We saw it in Vegas. He started on pole and was so hell-bent on getting to the inside line that he missed his braking point because he was just looking over. Oh, no, missed the braking point, opens the door to Max and George. That's a horrible situation to be in when you're on pole, but you're just thinking, this guy's going to just do anything to beat me. And I think Max this weekend may well have enough to take it on.
Well, you mentioned that Max lap, the pole lap from last year, that ultimately then wasn't pole because of the penalty. Let's take a look at it, James.
Yeah, let's. I mean, it's an incredible lap. And, you speak to these drivers after a qualifying lap here, and they're not sure how they're going to make it a Grand Prix distance. It's so hard on the neck. This track is so fast. Just over 200 miles an hour down into turn one. It's slightly banked. The turn in, it's so quick. They're turning in at 180 miles an hour. And it's incredible switch back through here into turn two. We see some great racing side by side through the first of many flat out corners here in turn three. Second DRS zone now into turn four. It's a tap of the brakes, 135 mile an hour minimum speed as you go through 4 and 5. Now down into turn 6. This is one of the two corners that have the slowest apex speed in the 60 mile an hour. Everything else is 100 miles an hour plus as you head down here into this section. Flat out through turn 8, flat out through turn 9, and then again, this is your second quote-unquote slow corner. Look at how much track he uses on the entry, just trying to get everything he can to arc it in. Car gets loose traditionally there through the middle of the corner. Now listen, flat, flat, flat. The commitment required through this section of the racetrack, just punishing those Pirellis. Now you get into that next corner, just a quick lift there, 160 mile an hour minimum speed before you head into this last corner. Again, using all the curb on the entry, all the curb at the apex, all the curb on the exit. It is an absolute commitment racetrack, and that was a completely committed lap for Max Verstappen.
Absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, James, for talking us through it. And if a championship battle between 3 drivers wasn't enough, it's also a sprint weekend, and Pirelli have thrown a bit of a spanner in the works with mandated number of laps and therefore a mandatory 2-stop here. Alex Jakes is talking to Mario Isola.
Well, Mario, you've had to impose a stint length on the tyre sets this weekend, 25 laps per tyre set. Tell us why.
This is a decision that is coming from last year. We saw that most of the teams decided to extend the stint up to 34, 35 laps. The result was that we are running over a tire without the tread, and that exposed the construction to high risk of puncture or failure. We don't want to take any risk on a track like this that is with high-speed corners. So we had a discussion in March at a sporting committee together with the teams, and our proposal was to limit the stint in order to be on the safe side.
We've seen in the past concerns about the curbs, but just outline for everyone watching why you've had to take this step.
The curbs are okay now. Last year they modified the top of the curbs, and this damage on the sidewall that we found a couple of years ago was no more there. But the reality is that they are running a lot of time over the curbs. There is a lot of grip here, so they wear the tire quite quickly, and they're able to manage the performance also when the tire is completely worn. And the only solution is to limit the stint length, the mileage. There is no other solution, honestly.
And just very quickly, what's it going to do to the strategy this weekend? What are you expecting?
No impact on free practice, sprint quali, just for the race. There is an obligation to do a 2-stop because with 25 laps you cannot have only 1 stop when the race is 57. But in any case, it's 2-stop with some flexibility.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A 2-stop with some flexibility on a sprint weekend in which they only have 1 practice session, Jolyon Palmer. And as I mentioned, we've got a championship battle raging on and battles up and down the grid to be decided as well. Implications then for strategy in the race. Yes, a 2-stop, but what does that look like out there in the heat of battle?
2 times everyone will be coming through the pit lane.
They'll
start on soft tyres and then they'll go medium. I think the strategy is really taken away in this race for anyone starting at the sharp end, because you need to start on the softer tyre. They won't need to run the hard, I don't think, because 25 laps total on the tyre. So that could be less in the stint in the race if they've run them through practice. But yeah, generally I think everyone's going to be pretty much on the same strategy. I think we'll see a lot of pit stops on lap 32, 33. With 25 laps at the end on a medium tyre, you should be able to blast through them on low fuel. So there's not that much that you can do strategically, to be honest.
Can someone at the back start on a medium, go medium, save softs for a quick fast in at the end?
Yeah.
If you've got nothing to lose on the start, is it worth rolling the dice?
If you've got nothing to lose, you could do that. We also saw the Monaco fixed 2-stop this year, and I don't think anyone at the front can do this. Obviously, the McLaren drivers won't help each other out. There's no way Yuki will be close enough to help Max out in that regard. But further back, you might see midfield teams trying to create a bit of a gap, knowing that people can't do a long one stop now. You have to do 2 pit stops. So if you slow someone down artificially, you can create that buffer. A Williams, a Racing Bulls, an Aston Martin maybe.
For me, personally, one thing that is really important, it puts a lot of pressure on the crews. The pit stops are going to be crucial. We know McLaren's made mistakes before. Red Bull normally is flawless, and I think that's going to put a lot of pressure in the championship. Everybody knows. You know what I mean? And as you said, it's 2 stops. It's not a 1 stop. You gotta, you know what I mean? McLaren's got to do it 4 times. Perfect.
And you forget the toll that it has on the strategists. Maybe have an easier time this time around because the tyres will hang on, and the exact lap you'll just be marking off with the numbers. But the pit crews, that is a lot of pressure coming on, and it's going to be a tricky race for them.
And in terms of the drivers as well, guys, we were seeing 2 years ago max performance, max push because of the shorter stints, and that was obviously in the heat as well. It was a pretty extreme race as we walked past the Alpine pit stop practice. The drivers, again, pressure on them in terms of how much they have to push in those stints?
Max performance, max push from all, or just Max?
Jolyon, from all.
I think that's what makes it fun, though. I think drivers love races like that, where you're not really managing tires, you're not having to conserve. You can kind of just go out and push, and that's what they want to do.
Hinch, it surprises me sometimes when I'm in Parc Fermé, and a race like Brazil, it's anti-clockwise, it's a physical circuit on the neck as well, and the drivers, you think Lando has had a nice easy race out front, and he gets out and he's looking a little bit tired. The same with Charles in Spa, lots of high-speed corners, got out the car and was like, that was a tough one.
Here they're going to suffer.
It really is tough. And you're right, Laura. From a couple of years ago, it was 18 laps on the tyres, which was a mandated 3-stop then. So, you know, it's 2-stop. They might have to be that little bit different, but it is brutal. All those flat-out corners take it out of your neck.
It is much cooler, it has to be said, though, this weekend, luckily, than it was 2 years ago. All right, a team who perhaps will be looking at their strategy from last weekend, certainly their drivers were, is Ferrari. Let's hear from Lewis Hamilton, who's not having the best time of it.
How do you look back on your first season with Ferrari?
I don't. Just look forwards.
Can we just talk about it a little bit in terms of...
There's not really much to say. It's the results have shown there's some positives to take from it, and you just move forwards.
What positives can you take from this season?
Gelled in the team, and there's amazing passion within the team, and just good focus on for next year.
What's the biggest thing you've learned in the last 12 months or so?
Just probably to just rebounding, just getting back up.
Can we reflect very quickly on something you said after the race on Saturday evening in Vegas about not looking forward to next season? You've had a few days to reflect. The adrenaline is no longer in your body. Just do you still feel the same way now?
Well, I think probably at this, I'd be surprised if the other drivers are excited about next year at the end of a season, because you usually don't have a lot of energy at the end of a season. You're looking forward to time with family and stuff. So that's really, but I mean, look, that's just in the heat of frustration. Often there's a lot of frustration at the end of races, particularly when they haven't gone well. So no, I'm excited to see what the team build next year and to continue to build on with them.
And if the car performs better at these final couple of race weekends, will that change your outlook?
No.
It was a Pretty brutal, Lewis Hamilton. We can't forget, of course, he is one of the greats, one of the best to have ever done this. And we've made our way out onto the grid, actually, because from one great to another, Novak Djokovic is here to take some of the paddock through their paces in a movement session. James, Jolyon, Juan Pablo, are you getting involved in this?
I'm doing okay. Don't look at me.
I don't know. Your shirt matches the color of the mats here. I think you're dressed for the occasion.
That's front and middle reserved. I think that's your name on it, actually.
There you go.
But amazing
You'd be
to
surprised
see.
how much I can stretch, but I'm okay.
Amazing to see that Novak Djokovic here supporting the Grand Prix weekend and here, of course, with Qatar Airways. Okay, then, Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton. I'm going to ask, where is he at? I mean, there are obviously going to be questions surrounding his future, whether that's 2027 or whether that is 2026, Jolyon.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't look like he's having any fun, and it's week on week now at the moment. So then you do think, does he need to be doing this at all for Lewis at the moment? He's getting a battering every weekend, it feels like. There's been times where he's been much closer to Charles. Mexico qualifying was up in the top 3. It looked like there's flashes of him getting back to good pace, but then the last 2 weekends have been entirely miserable. Then you've got John Elkann coming out and saying the drivers need to focus on driving and not talking. You think, oh, you're talking to the greatest driver Formula One's ever seen. That's not a great feeling, is it, either? And I know they've battered that away, and Lewis says he's got a great relationship with the team, and Johnny's looking forward to the future. But you've got to question, with his age, with the level of performance at the moment, and his enjoyment factor seems to have gone a bit, Hinch.
The motivation seems a little bit down, and that's important too because they're still in a constructors battle right now. They've fallen to P4 behind Red Bull, which is so shocking when you really consider, again, no offense to Yuki, he's not contributed a lot. That's really off the back of Max alone. For Ferrari to have fallen to P4 after taking the title all the way to the last race last year, it's a big drop-off in performance. I know that's something that's going to be sitting with them in the offseason if they can't get at least back up to P3.
Yeah, personally, I think Lewis, I know he's in a tough spot and he's frustrated. I think he's just venting a lot of it. I think he kept a lot of the composure through the beginning of the year when he wasn't running good. And people were questioning a lot why he wasn't running good. And I think he got to a point, he said, I don't really care. I'm just going to speak out and tell them how frustrated I am. And I think it's more that. I think he still wants to do the job. I think in Brazil, in quali, he was doing a really good job. If Charles doesn't spin in qualifying, he would have out-qualified Charles. I think Charles would have been knocked out in qualifying. So, yes, in race pace, he's still missing. I don't think it's the easiest car to drive. But I don't think... He doesn't have anything to prove, but he loves racing. So I know he's not happy where he is, but he doesn't want to quit at this point being in a down. I think he wants to still prove to himself he can do it.
And there's a massive regulation change coming for next year. So that's the interesting thing. The cars, the driving style will be so different. And he's been very vocal that he's not enjoyed this set of regulations since 2021. The regs changed, these ground effect cars, and he's not got on that well with them. So, I'm sure he is looking to that, and he's alluded to next year a few times. But it's just his whole demeanour. It's not nice to see for someone that's had so much success have this difficult a time and wear it on his sleeve as well. It's not why he joined for Ferrari.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough to see. We'll see if he can bounce back at least this weekend. Franco Colapinto is also just behind us as well, speaking to Novak Djokovic. We're going to get out of the way of these very fit, lean people who are about to take part in a session with Novak Djokovic. You can hear from Isaac Hadjar.
Isaac, you ended up P6 in Vegas after the disqualifications shook out. Leaves you 9th in the Drivers' Championship, but it's close with Nico and Carlos. Is that a bit of a target for you for the final 2 races of the season, top 10?
Yeah, that's the target. I mean, if I end up on the podium and Alex finishes with no points, then maybe 8th is the target, but it's not going to happen. So, yeah, 9.
Well, if we go back 12 months here, you were fighting for an F2 title. Now you're fighting for a Red Bull seat. Just how proud are you of the year you've delivered so far in F1?
Good. Last year I didn't really know if I was going to F1. Now I know I'd be on the grid next year, so it's a big step.
Yeah, and you'll be on the grid. You know where you'll be driving next year?
I know I'll be on the grid.
But you're not going to tell us where?
Who knows?
Right, thanks.
Something changed on that front then? You said last time we asked you said normally it's just decided at the end of the season.
Yeah, but apparently now it's decided 1 round before the end of the season.
Oh, we are now at 1 round before the end of the season.
No, you're not.
Oh. You're right, we're at the second last.
Yeah.
Okay, well listen, we'll wait. We will. We'll wait for any announcement or any direction as it comes.
think it's fair to say Isaac Hadjar looks quite pleased with himself there. He's bouncing, and actually Yuki Tsunoda in his interview was saying, yes, I do know something about my future, but I can't tell you anything just yet. I would say that his demeanour, the way he was speaking, the tone of voice was very different. So what can we deduce? Maybe quite a simple question to answer from what we're seeing here.
I will do the math and say that I think Hadjar is going to Red Bull and Tsunoda is out of Red Bull, is whether he's out of Formula One, and I think he's under big pressure to be out the whole sport, actually. His performance has just been really difficult to justify keeping him in, even in the Racing Bulls, I think.
So for you, you're saying potentially Arvid Lindblad in
so
a
Lindblad's
Racing
coming
Bull,
up. That's the thing. From F2 seems to be the next Red Bull guy on the rank, and I think he's going to come into Formula One. Prospect from F2. I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot more opinion on him from this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because they have Lindblad on one side, but Iwasa just won this Formula Nippon. That it's a huge championship, and so who deserves more of the seat? Personally speaking, I mean, it's really hard. I think Lindblad will have the seat personally. But what are they going to do with Iwasa? He's delivered. They took him to Japan. He won there. He won the championship. Lindblad is 4th or 5th in the championship, or I don't know exactly where he is. So,
and Iwasa's got good form in F2 in the past as well, and has done some FP1s. So he's not a stranger to the F1 paddock as well. They have got quite a few drivers, but it does seem that Lindblad he's young. He's come through very quickly as well, and seems to be the way to go. So then you're left with Lawson or Tsunoda.
Which is an interesting one because, Tsunoda's lasted in the Red Bull a lot longer than Lawson did. Now, there are maybe reasons for that, but I don't think it can be ignored. And Yuki has shown some progress, at least in practice. He's gotten a little bit closer. Hadjar's had the number of Lawson in their time together at Racing Bulls. So has Lawson done enough to keep that seat over someone like Yuki, who when he was in that team was performing higher than anyone else's that was really beside him?
That's the hard part right there is that, Yuki was delivering, and the reason he got moved up. So what happens, if Hadjar struggles next year? Are they going to get rid of him?
Lindblad goes up.
Lindblad goes up, and what? Hadjar goes out?
Yuki comes back, and then Daniel Kvyat comes back again. And
Exactly. That's the problem. The other thing that is changing, I think, in Red Bull, I think Austria is starting to get more involved in the decisions. So that's a little bit different. It's not Helmut deciding who drives, it's Helmut plus more people now.
You can actually rewind it to pretty much this point last year when Lawson got the call up to Red Bull instead of Tsunoda. And Tsunoda was stronger than Lawson this time last year, but Liam was seen as the new protege, was younger, his rookie results were decent. Liam didn't do the job in the first 2 races pretty miserably. He was, out after 2 races. And Yuki had the chance. Well, he probably didn't have the choice, but he said, I can do a better job. I can put in the Red Bull. I would not say no. So he did. And maybe that was the mistake, because at Racing Bulls, he could have done a better job. I agree.
Yeah. He would have been scoring points and everything. Yeah. He would have been there. The Racing Bull seems to be a lot friendly. I don't know if it's the atmosphere, whatever it is, but they just be able to deliver. And I think something that Red Bull needs to look at is why does that work there and it doesn't work in Milton Keynes?
That's what I was going to say. It seems we're still talking about the Red Bull second seat and the Red Bull family and how it all slots together. It's sort of a never-ending conundrum for them. Can we move on to other team news, market news, and that is Adrian Newey has been named team principal at Aston Martin. I'm sort of saying it with a slight head scratch, I suppose, because...
Big one.
There we go. It feels to me like it's an extra responsibility that a man of Adrian Newey's stature and genius doesn't necessarily need. It adds a level of media responsibility in that sense to his role.
Yeah, it's like, if you're that good at designing cars, why are you... It's like, great, maybe he wants to move up and do something new, and I think it's a great opportunity for him to grow with the team and everything, but now you're giving the design of the car to somebody else. Somebody else is going to be designing the car. Are you
no, they're not.
No. I think they're not. They're going to have to. You can manage running the team and then go, yeah, you know what I mean? I think that's... Adrian is a very hands-on guy, and I think that's where it's going to be the conflict of interest. I agree. I think he needs to be the guy, but this is the problem. It's you don't hire a driver and they go, no, you need to make a bigger arc. You already hire the guy to do the job. You know what I mean? If you were You know, I mean, look at Andretti in America. He owns the team now. When he was an amazing driver, and you hire somebody and you're not that convinced about the guy, you can't tell him how to drive the car.
But this opens the question about the CEO position, right? And that actually whether they alleviate those responsibilities from Adrian Newey by giving them to a CEO, much like a McLaren model of a Zak Brown and an Andrea Stella, and actually much like 6 teams we have already on the grid who have gone down an engineer route for their team principal.
Yeah, it's very in vogue right now, isn't it? To have kind of an engineer, you know, quote unquote, running the team or in charge. But you do kind of need that other person taking care of more of that stuff. But at the same time, this is clearly something that Newey wanted, right? I mean, he's in a position on that team where he can, dare I say, he can demand pretty much anything he wants. I don't think this would have been forced upon him. So something about this role appealed to him. Something about that title maybe appealed to him. But yeah, ultimately, I still think his real love is designing the race car. His real strength is designing the race car.
He's not moving away from designing the race car.
Exactly.
You have Adrian Newey because you want to design a good race car. No, I think
someone's got to come in and take the rest
There's
of
another
it.
hire coming as the CEO.
Yes.
So it'll be Andrea Stella to Zak Brown. Andrea is the engineering mind. Zak is the commercial mind. I see Aston Martin going the same way. And I think Adrian wants more autonomy in the team. He's joined the team. He's not joined Aston Martin to be running where Aston Martin are. He wants to put all the cogs in the right places. And I think I see it as just removing one step of bureaucracy in that team.
So the question is he better at putting the right person in the right place or actually designing the car? Because there's 2 different roles there. One role is, okay, I keep designing the car, and then like when he had Christian in Red Bull, Christian build the team around him. Yeah. But here, he's going to have to build a team around somebody else because he's taking different roles. You know what I mean?
Depends
like
depends who else comes in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Estella in McLaren. Estella in McLaren is overseeing everything, but he's not the hands-on guy designing the car. That's where, you know what I mean? That's where I think if the car struggles, is he going to step back and go back to designing the car and put somebody else?
But also Adrian, even in his years at Red Bull, has been more in a managerial role as well. So he's not the guy with the chalkboard. I know he does that. He's so hands-on in the design of the car, but he's already been in the management echelons at Red Bull. So I feel like he's got that experience to draw on. And he's in his, I'd say, final throes of being in Formula One. He's been around the block, won many titles, so he's giving it a shot.
I love that even though we're at the penultimate race of the season, we still have so much to talk about, and this sport gives us so much. Luckily, we're going to be here all weekend to discuss it, and we've got sprint action to come, which gives us plenty of time to be on your television screens. Here is the schedule then for the Qatar Grand Prix. Practice 4:15, the 1 hour, don't forget, before sprint qualifying at 8:15, building up to that one. Then comes Saturday, the pre-sprint show at 4:20, the sprint race at 5 p.m, post-sprint straight after that podium, and then we're into Grand Prix format and qualifying. Pre-quali at 8:30, qualifying under the lights at 9 p.m. here at the Losail International Circuit. The post-qualifying show and all the reaction coming straight afterwards. And then race day, our penultimate one of this incredible year, 6 p.m, building up in the pre-race show to all the action starting from 7 p.m. in the Qatar Grand Prix, and the post-race show straight afterwards. Don't forget, a sprint weekend means extra points in F1 Fantasy. We have got the Alpine Desert Dash, Alpine with a variety of prizes for you to win in that one. So do make sure you get your teams in. Okay, guys, final thoughts, please, from this brilliant paddock, this brilliant circuit. Plenty going on in the paddock. Look at this barbecue we're missing. You better get in there.
I was there.
Were you there? You're already eating.
That was my dinner, yeah.
Oh, well, we're going to head straight in. Guys, final thoughts then and your predictions for this race and the permutations for the championship.
Max wins the race. Championship goes down to Abu Dhabi. I think George does him a favour. Gets second place for Mercedes and Lando brings in third. It's going to be the end of Oscar's championship road, in my opinion. I think he's on the slide, and that may well help Lando in Abu Dhabi.
James?
I think Max wins it. I think it's going to be real close between Oscar and Lando for second and third. I don't know if Mercedes is going to quite have it like they did last year, but they might. They've been so up and down, so hit and miss. It's so tough to know where Mercedes is really going to be. And I know you think that Ferrari's got a shot here.
Yeah, I think Ferrari's going to be close, but I do agree. I think Max is going to win it. I think the 2 McLarens are going to fight it out. But I think Lewis is going to have a bit of a redemption here. He ran really well in the Mercedes here the last time he ran here, so I think this is a good track. You know, the long corners, I think it helps Ferrari. I think Ferrari, when it's a lot of the braking and sharp corners, Ferrari is really unstable, and I think the longer corners is going to suit the car a little better.
And how desperate will they be for a win as well at this point of the season? Brilliant stuff. We're going to either go to the paddock barbecue or join in with the movement session. We'll make a decision.
We've got to earn it first, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so. Should we head in? With tennis great Novak Djokovic, what an opportunity for us. Guys, thank you so much for all of your thoughts in a brilliant weekend warm-up. We'll be with you all weekend, as I say here, for a sprint weekend at the Qatar Grand Prix, our penultimate one to decide this championship. Don't miss a second. We'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Qatar. We're underneath the floodlights at the Sail International Circuit. The Qatar Grand Prix is underway. Max Verstappen's got the lead of the Grand Prix. Lando's going past the pair of them. Oh, off the road, he's in the gravel.
Viciously quick track around here.
It is fast, it is flowing, it is physical.
That is an unbelievable speed.
Hamilton got the launch off the line. Round the outside, he's hit his teammate. Oh my word, contact. This is made. Max Verstappen wins the Qatar Grand Prix.
Took me long, guys.